Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a great weekend. Our first announcement is to let you know that on the 12th at 7 p.m., we are having Beer and Theology. You'll get the link via the normal routine. Send it on over to Christine right now to let us know what's happening with the kids.
Hey there, Christine here. Hope you're all doing well. Got 2 videos for you guys this week, one for the pre-K group and one for the elementary school kids. Feel free to reach out to me, Christine at theoregoncommunity.com, if you have any questions about kid stuff, especially as we're getting back into the fall and a routine with online school, I guess, but a little bit more of some structure. If you need any help with anything, I'm happy to be a support for you. Hope you're all doing great. Bye.
Thanks, Christine. Next, to let you know that it is that time, TikTok for Community Forum. Wait, but it's not that time of year, Bob. Why are we having it right now? Because we miss seeing your faces. It's not going to happen in person. Though it's happening virtually, we would like to see as many people there as possible. Community Forum on the 19th at 7 p.m. virtually, and time for us to talk about what's been going on lately, because who knows? But we'd like to find out. So find out maybe some better ways for us to get together, get some ideas from people on what we've been doing and maybe what they would like to do, and just to kind of check in and see as many faces on a Zoom call as possible. Again, that's the 19th at 7 p.m. Send it over to the stick rods right now to let us know what's happening with middle school.
Hey guys, happy Sunday once again.
Hope you all are doing well. We've been enjoying the sunshine and being outside, and even a little bit of rain this week.
Yeah.
Our video this week is talking about the Shema again, so we're in week 5 on that, and this week is about the heart, understanding what it means to love God with all your heart, what the word heart means in the context of the Bible, and what it means in the context of that verse. So hope you enjoy the video. Miss you guys.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, stick rods. Also wanted to remind people, you know what? All is not lost. You still have time to do things. I'm getting ready to go on a bike ride. That's why I'm dressed like this. You know what? So you can still do some things that you've been wanting to do. Summer's not over, the year's not over, your life is not over. Get out and do some stuff. Play an instrument, paint a picture, read a book, go for a run, spend time with your kids, get off the couch, go on a date. Who knows what it is, but get out and go do something. You still have time. Don't waste any of it. Don't let 2020, don't let COVID take anything else away from you. Go do something safely, please. Wear a mask. With that said, you can give online. Here's the information. Much love to everyone, and hope to see you in the Zoom sooner than later. Bye.
My awaken my soul, awaken my soul, come awake. Sing, awaken my soul, awaken my soul, come awake. Awaken my soul, come awake. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord, you give life. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. You give life. You give life. You are love. You bring light to the darkness. You give hope. You restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. All the earth and all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry and these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry and these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth We'll take time for our prayers of the people in a moment of silence. If we could start with that prayer, though. Great are you, Lord. And get out of our own way with saying what greatness looks like or how it should feel or what it is. But to just trust. Sing, great are you, Lord. And then to pray for others. We'll take a moment of silence now.
Hey, good morning. Coming to you this morning from my treehouse, 16 feet up in a huge Douglas fir tree in our backyard. The boys and I have been building this place for, I don't know, probably 10 years. And we took this opportunity during COVID to remodel it. So it's one of my favorite places. And thanks for hanging out here with me. I'd love to have you come up sometime and check it out in person. So at our church, we are in a series about being. And as I think about being, sometimes, especially lately, I have become worn. There's an old-fashioned word, careworn. And I don't know if you can relate to this or not. And the question is, what do you do? How do you recharge being when you become worn, when you become anxious or sad or down? Is there some kind of remedy, some mechanism for recharging, for rebooting being? And I think there is. And that's what I want to talk to you about to you today. This summer, my mom, she's 84 years old. She is an avid hiker. She likes to go for a hike, or at least a walk outdoors, preferably in the forest, preferably in the wild, every day. It's what she loves to do. So this summer she had back surgery and couldn't walk. And the worst thing about it wasn't the pain of the surgery. It wasn't the recovery time or anything like that. But what she said is, if I can't be out in the wild, how can I live? And when I heard that, something clicked for me, because I got this too. Now, I'm sure it's not everybody who's this way, but some of us are sort of nature freaks. And for us, for our tribe, getting out into nature, for me, sitting right here next to this big tree in a forest, it does something to fill me up, to recharge my batteries. And so today I want to take a while to look at this idea of a nature as a portal where God can be found, where he could be experienced and discovered, encountered. Many people have said that God has written more than one book. We all think about the Bible, but before there was a Bible, there was the book of nature. And so this could be thought of as sort of God's expression to the world. John Muir, who hopefully we'll return to before we're done today, he said, God's first revelation is through every aspect of the natural world: days and seasons, the sun rising and setting, rivers and ravens, mountains and plains, forests and ferns, winds and storms, stars splashed across the evening sky, everything that is and was, all creatures that walk, swim, crawl on earth and fly in the realms above, are opening 1,000 windows to show us God. So, since I know this and I believe this, for me, nature is a way to recharge. I took a few days recently up in Olympic National Park. I went for the first half of the trip with my Suzanne, and we did many hikes. And then the boys met me and we went backpacking. We totaled about 80 miles of wilderness trails in the Olympics, which was absolutely wonderful and terrific. And as I was hiking, I want to tell you some of the things that happened to me, some of my observations along the way. First of all, the wild is first and foremost is about life. And as a window into God and God's realm and this kingdom of God, I really believe it's all about life. You know, when I was young, I used to think it was about sort of a set of propositional truths that, who is Jesus and who is God, and therefore who am I, and what is my problem, and what has God done to solve the problem. And, oh, that's fine. And I'm not saying that is not true or helpful. But the question is now for me is not so much what are the facts, but what is life, what affirms life, and what brings life, and what recreates and breathes life, into us again. And so when I was in the mountains, man, that place is like, especially this time of year, so it's first weekend of August, an absolutely exploding abundance of pure life, of creativity, of diversity, and of abundance. And everywhere you look, I mean, you can't. So we went through many sort of high meadows, and the trail led us by many millions of flowers, and your pinks and purples and reds and blue, orange, and red and yellow and white and light lavender. And but eventually you sort of give up trying to catalog them all in your mind because it's just too overwhelming. And then you think this range of mountains goes on for 60 miles and only a small part of it has any trails in it. And everywhere you have all this profusion of life, of birds and animals, deer and elk and bear and cats and chipmunks and squirrels and skunks and raccoons and you name it, it's all there. This humming, dancing explosion of life. And for me, that's pretty much it teaches me something about God. I mean, maybe what God is not just a trinity to be figured out as if God were math. Maybe what he is sort of a big bang of life, and that wherever he goes, wherever he's allowed in, life finds a way. Life happens, and so I'm big on life. I know what I love, and it's life. And wherever that life can be refilled and recharged and to overflow again, that's what's great. Life in all of its profundity and diversity and creativity. And why did God make the world that way? Why creative? Why not just blue flowers in one spot? That's probably how I would have created the world. This is the blue flower field, and this is the pink flower field, and over there you got the yellow. And man, God, so there's that. Also, life is about the life of the wild is about renewal and reinvention, where it's always cycling and nothing is ever wasted, and life builds life. What I think this gospel that we believe is really about life. And when I was young, I always wanted to be a preacher, and in the worst way. And so that led me to all kind of like church settings and internships and stuff like that, where my job was to sort of argue people into things like, well, you really need to believe in this, and you really need to act like this. And the more I get out in the wild and just observe the ways of God in nature, the more I wonder if the best thing we can do for the world, if our best gospel is an abundant profusion of life. And what years I have left, I want to be so overflowing with life and joy and health and vitality that it's some kind of a blessing to somebody else. And even if it's not, it's just a better and more joyful way to live. And so, anyway, thing number one is life, just such an abundance of life everywhere. And I guess one of my wishes for you today is if there's anything in you that's trending toward darkness, toward sadness, toward weariness, that you could find God's life abounding in you and around you again. Also, the one other thing I thought on that is, being up there reminded me that, we need to carpe diem every day. And, the famous line from the poem that was made famous in Dead Poets Society, seize the day. Right now is the high season in the Olympics, and their growing season is very short, and many of these little bugs and things, they only live for a few days. And so while they have this opportunity to live and thrive and reproduce and to be, gosh, they are exploding. I mean, everything is exploding with life, and I'm up there, and over and over, I'm like, God, I want to grab life that way. I want to live this day and to embrace this opportunity. And so it was a reminder to me about life and how big it is and how wonderful it is, and to seize it and to live it and to let it flow through me. In Genesis, at the time of the creation of the world, God said, let there be, and then he'd go on and state or name the thing that should be. This is a series on being. So, God's creative act created not just things, but being. Let there be, plants and animals and everything. Let there be. And so I imagine God as sort of the self-existent one, the one in whom life, exists sort of natively, and releasing that life when he says, let there be. And that's just my prayer for you today. Let there be joy in you. Let there be abounding love and hope and grace in your life. Let there be all that is good and holy and helpful. And that leads me to the second idea, and that is I wanted to talk a little about the beneficence of nature, or the bounty. There is so much up there that is not, none of it's like created for show. It just is, which is so lovely, it's not like, God planted a flower garden at the entrance so that, would look nice when we show up. But the whole place is just diffused with plenty and with life. It's a generous world, and we can see this different ways. You can see it from different perspectives. I remember one time that I was up there on a primitive trail in the Olympics, and at that time it was a hot day. There have been other times when it was pouring rain. There were a lot of bugs and mud, and maybe I didn't bring enough food, and it was uncomfortable, and it was very tempting to look at how it was hell. It was bad. But there have been other times, like this last week, I'm on that same trail in those same areas, and even with some of the same negative conditions and discomforts. But in that same spot, there's such abounding, great beauty, just stunning mountains with glaciers on them, and tarns, and glacial lakes, and little brown trout swimming in the lakes and streams. So glad, and eating bugs, which are it was awesome. So anyway, that was a reminder to me too that, somebody used to say heaven and hell are the same exact place. It just depends on your perspective about it, how you look at it. And so anyway, I was able to see on this trip that God's world, this world God has created, is at least partly full of benevolent grace and fullness and goodness, beneficence, plenty. And that's good. There was once a tour of Sahara chiefs, like from Africa, from the Sahara Desert, into Europe. And one of the stops they took them on was to I can't remember the place, but somewhere in France in the Alps. They took them to a huge waterfall. And the African chiefs stood and watched the waterfall for an uncomfortably long time. And eventually the tour guide said, well, we need to go. What are you waiting for? It's time for us to do something else. And the chief said, no, don't you think it would be more respectful to wait until it stops? So they assumed, that this was, once again, sort of a show, sort of a lavish demonstration of how much water there is, how much abundance there is in France. And maybe it's going to last 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes. But the idea that this falls has been cascading down from the mountains every day, every hour, every week, month, year, for centuries blows the mind. And maybe, being in nature reminded me God and God's care and God's love is like that. It blows the mind. I was hiking on a ridge, and this hymn, I was educated on hymns since childhood, and so this one came to mind. It's a hymn by Frederick Lehman, 1919, and it's the third verse of a hymn called The Love of God. Could we with ink the ocean fill, and were the skies of parchment made, were every stalk on earth a quill, and every man a scribe by trade, to write the love of God above would drain the ocean dry, nor could the scroll contain the whole, though stretched from sky to sky. It's good poetry. Before Lehman, the author, died, he wrote a book about his work. And when he described this song, this is what he said. These words were found penciled on the wall of a patient's room in an insane asylum after he had been carried to his grave. Which pierced me, that in lucid moments, even for someone in the deepest calamity, that a person could imagine, that there's a sense of the overwhelming grace and kindness, beneficence, and love of God. And that's available to all at any time. And this is one of the things that nature teaches me. I was looking up the lyrics to that hymn, and that there were comments on the feed online, and I noticed immediately that they were from all around the world. The first dozen were Australia, Nigeria, India, Kenya, the UK, the Philippines, Jamaica, and so forth, because this is universal. This gratitude for overwhelming grace. And we find it in nature, and we find it in God and in His kingdom. Also, there is a beneficent care. Jesus talked about this, but God notices the sparrows. He notices the lilies of the field. And when you think about how many millions and zillions of lilies of the field there are, and the fact that God cares for them. Now, I was thinking about what does it mean God cares for them? Does it mean that, He personally goes around with eyedroppers to see that each of them gets their water every day? No, God uses intermediaries to care. It's still God caring and God knowing, but He uses intermediaries, which is helpful to me to understand sort of how it works. I was up on a couple nights ago, up on a high ridge, and it was perfectly dry, and there are all these flowers everywhere. I thought, how on earth do they live? There has to be streams or springs around here somewhere for all these flowers to drink. And I found out that next morning, even though it had been a perfect, clear, crisp, lovely night with no rain, no cloud, no fog, but the next morning, everything, the tent, sleeping bag, flowers, ground, just so wet. Why? Because God's caring for his creatures, using the intermediary that we call, dew. And I think that's how God often works. And think about it. We have an opportunity to be a vehicle that God could use to provide care to somebody else. Isn't that what the church is about? That's what we're trying to do here together, not just be religious together or think, religious thoughts together, but to enter this dancing, humming, vibrating, good kingdom of God and be an intermediary for each other for the care and grace of God. So I think those are the things I wanted to share with you today. And I wish for you an opportunity in nature this week to be again and to recharge again. What I'd like to do is give you an opportunity. I imagine probably you're not outside right now. Maybe you'll go out later, but you're probably not out there now. And so what I want to do is put up a few pictures that my boys and I took of our trip. Just a few pictures, not of us, but of the natural things that we saw, the things that we thought were beautiful. And ask you to watch these images while I read you a journal entry by John Muir, July 26, called Reflections of the Creator. The flowers on the mountaintop appear as visitors, a cloud of witnesses to nature's love in what we in our timid ignorance and unbelief call the desert. The surface of the ground, dull and forbidding at first sight, besides being rich in plants, shines and sparkles, with minerals, hornblende, feldspar, quartz, tourmaline. The radiance in some places is so great to be fairly dazzling. Keen lance rays of every color flashing, sparkling in glorious abundance, joining the plants in their fine, brave beauty work. Every crystal, every flower, a wind opening into heaven, a mirror reflecting the Creator. From garden to garden, ridge to ridge, I drifted enchanted, now on my knees gazing into the face of a daisy, now climbing again and again among the purple and azure flowers of the hemlocks, now down into the treasuries of the snow, or gazing afar over domes and peaks, lakes and woods, and the billowy, glaciated fields of the upper mountains, and trying to sketch them. In the midst of such beauty, pierced with its rays, one's body is all one tingling palette. One of my favorite hymns is the one that says, "This is my Father's world." It goes on to describe the beauty of the natural world, but it has special meaning and power and significance because of this sense that our Father created this. And as we go out, we can learn so much about life and about Him and about ourselves. And it's not only what we learn, it's what we experience. It's that recharging, that fresh life that can come in. Now let me pray for you. May God bless you. May God recharge you and fill you with life and joy and grace. May you know the beneficence of God today.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace.
I thought it was lift up his consciousness.